Hello, I'm your host, Effie Pilarino, and today I have the pleasure to be joined by Anne Ma, who wears many hats, but mainly she's a senior advisor at Truffle Capital, a fund that is focused very much exclusively on fintech, and she is an advisor to fintechs. Will have the opportunity to talk a lot about her endeavors and her insights. I think of Anna as a payments, open banking specialist. I know that she's passionate about teaching. So welcome, Anna.
Hello, Effie, and I'm really pleased to be here today. So thank you for having me. And eventually we managed to connect. So I'm really happy about this. And thank you for your kind words.
You're very welcome. Where are you joining us from today? I'm in Zurich these days. It's cold and cloudy. What about you?
Yeah, I'm in Warsaw, Poland. It's also pretty cold, and I'm back to Europe after an assignment in the Middle East. So I will definitely have a kind of a European perspective, but some exposure to the Middle East as well.
Yeah, and you know, recently I was looking at your stance on LinkedIn, where you shared the list of I think it was 8 fintechs that are on your radar, maybe in your heart too. I don't know. So why don't we start talking about that? And you know, honestly, those fintechs at a glance, some of them I've heard of, some not. I understand that they're mostly in the payment space. So tell us about them and what it is that's on your radar, maybe some elements. What are the innovations? What are the expectations? What are you excited about?
Yeah, I think that's a good topic to start, and it's a very, very recent one. I just managed to publish the list of 10 fintechs to watch, and this is a third year in a row that I'm just publishing this list. Because I'm working a lot with fintech startups. I'm also connecting them to incumbent, to banks, to other payment institutions. So I have a lot of opportunities to see really innovative or even disruptive companies. I'm also sitting in the evaluation panels for European Innovation Council, when I'm seeing a lot of not only fintech, but tech startups. And I think this is also something that enhances this perspective. So this year I'm also going, and I think this is the first time I'm sharing this, to share the list of to publish the list of tech startups as well. So first of all, there are certain criteria that I'm looking at, and so definitely the excellence, so the innovation that I mentioned, that these are the companies in the forefront in their domains, but as you mentioned, they are mostly in payments. In digital payments, this is my DNA, my domain, my expertise. I've been more than 20 years in payments mostly, but of course payments now, this is a broad area with payment related services. So you can't ignore such services like merchant lending, like instant crediting, BNPL, like open banking, that is also opening up this payment perspective from account to account, so from bank account. So definitely there is a lot of innovation. That's the first criteria, excellence, I would say. Then this is a kind of an impact that they can make. Also in terms of geographical scale up, so market expansion. They are not local champions, they are regional players, or they have potential to be regional, and not only regional, but also like, you know, international, if not global. Definitely they have this regional focus and perspective. So this is the second criterion. And then there is, of course, team and founders and people standing behind it, because if we talk about founders, if we talk about startups, so definitely these are teams. And I also have this VC perspective that I'm trying to push here. So these are the main criteria, and one of the criteria they are close to my heart in different ways, because I don't like, you know, just research. Of course I do my research, but I don't look at any other reports. I don't look like, you know, any rankings or lists. I'm just trying to to get to know them. And usually either I've seen them pitching, or I collaborated with them. I just built some partnerships. So I know they work. And this is like a first-hand experience. So that's why I'm really excited, because this is a kind of a testimonial and I know what I'm talking about. So this year, this was the list of 10 fintechs, and as I said, not only in payments, but in payments in a broader perspective, so also open banking and blockchain, of course, payments based on blockchain, and also some payment related services, BNPL, which is a kind of a buzz right now. And also I enhanced this perspective this year with MENA, or with Middle East startups from the Middle East, because of course of my experience, recent experience, and my exposure there.
To the region, yes, yes. You know, I want to ask you, Anna, I mean, open banking, I assume when you use the term, you're not referring to the European regulatory framework. You're really talking about the business model and the business culture of open banking and what can be built around that. And I want to connect it with embedded finance and the ecosystems and so on, and where there's a lot of overlap with payment fintech companies and other industries, be it in e-commerce, be it anywhere else. Tell me how you see this, how you see this growth area, what you expect this year, what you're excited about.
So absolutely, Effie. I'm talking about open banking from the business perspective and the value it can bring to the market, including different stakeholders. So not only new players like third-party providers, TPPs, that are like, newcomers into this open banking game, but also incumbents, because sometimes we really just tend to look at the open banking either from the compliance perspective, regulatory perspective, and then the banks who are, of course, the suppliers, and they are data generators and they are obliged to publish the APIs, but this is very limiting. And or we have a totally different perspective, the newcomers, new players, new entrants, so TPPs, that they are going to take the part of the business from banks, or they are data consumers and they are going to use this data. First of all, I really like this perspective of collaboration, and I'm very much advocating for collaboration models in the open banking. But secondly, as I said, these are different stakeholders. So of course, there are also consumers or types of clients like SMEs or even corporate entities involved in this. So definitely we should have this broader perspective. What is the value chain here, and who are different stakeholders or actors in the open banking? So first of all, and talking about the business model, we're really just pushing this perspective from the regulatory framework into the business value proposition, and what can be the proposition here, how the data can be utilized, and not only in the account aggregation or payment initiation, which is a very basic aspect of open banking, and it's not even exciting, but how we can really push this into more exciting use cases in credit, in real estate, also in mortgages and some other aspects of banking and finance. So when I'm talking about the business model, I also want to introduce this perspective of shifting open banking towards open finance and even open data ecosystem. It is related to digital identity, for example. So, of course, we have different developments in the world, and we have different perspectives. We have regulatory-led models, and we have market-pushed models. And we are more advanced in Europe, generally speaking, with PSD2, with PSD3 on horizon as well, in the UK especially, but also in other European countries like Scandinavian countries. But some other geographies are now just discovering the open banking model. They are also pushing into or moving forward into the open finance. My experience from the Middle East, for example, so Bahrain and Central Bank of Bahrain was the first who published the open banking framework just very much similar to PSD2 and generally UK model. Now they are trying to push the agenda towards open finance and include insurance and pension funds and so on. But if you look at the Middle East, generally speaking, Saudi is publishing the framework, and UAE on a federal level, they are also having some developments into it, but they are still not there. And we are talking only about regulatory framework here. If we look at the business model and how the banks, but also fintechs can really consume it, can really benefit from that, they are not there still. And if you look at Africa, for example, Nigeria, they are very active into open banking, but still this is something emerging. And recently I just did some research on Africa, and this is a very fragmented, a massively fragmented payment market, of course, with more than 500 banks, local banks. So open banking might be a kind of a, like, you know, if you look from the cross-border perspective, it might be kind of a solution to the problem as well. And also some other markets are emerging, like Mexico or, like, you know, some Latin markets. But definitely I'm very keen to see this from the open data or open ecosystem perspective. This is the first point. And you mentioned the second point I wanted to make here. And I think sometimes people really just...
Anna, sorry, because I lost your voice. Can you
Okay, I will repeat then.
The second point, yeah.
So you also mentioned the second point and embedded finance here. And I think this is very important, because when I'm talking about open data ecosystem or open ecosystem, I also imagine the embedded finance, but how it does differ from the open banking. Embedded finance, this is of course how we can use banking as a service or payment as a service and payment platforms, banking platforms. But in the front end, we have different sectors involved. So retail, e-commerce, real estate, travel, even education, different sectors. And I think this is the beauty of open data ecosystem. And again, I'm really keen about it. I'm getting excited when I'm talking about that, because this is how you can benefit from the intersection of different verticals and how they overlap and how they can really work together. So you have embedded payments or embedded finance, which is a very strong notion, but they are just one of the layers in the backend, enabling for a customer journey, for the customer experience in other sectors, also including automotive, retail estate that I mentioned. So just making this kind of experience a kind of a seamless and frictionless experience, not only with payments, but of course with other banking services or financial services like crediting, for example. So I think this is the way to go, definitely. And I will be watching the companies in this area, and I'm really excited about that.
Great. I mean, I honestly know a little about the MENA region and how it compares, if you want, to the European developments. And can you tell us a little bit more about what MENA is sort of gaining from the the advance of the European fintech market, from those experiences, and maybe vice versa? And do we have fintechs in the MENA region that are not only regional ones and have great potential both to grow in Europe and in Africa too?
A very good question and interesting perspective. So obviously there are some like, you know, leading topics or topics that really get interest in MENA. So for example, of course, in Europe, we already made these lessons, and we learned these lessons, especially in the open banking, but also BNPL and some other areas like crypto, and not only crypto payments, but also crypto assets. And I think these are like from my perspective, these are three leading topics in the MENA region. So it's not that much about AI. Of course, AI is an underlying technology for data analytics and so on, but not, for example, conversational AI. But I would say like digital payments, so the push into the digital payments, then the open banking agenda, BNPL.
And the digital assets agenda,
yeah, and digital
speaking, broader than just cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, and you made this point, and I fully agree. So of course, I'm looking at crypto as well, not only from the payment perspective, but definitely like just like a new class of assets, digital assets. And of course, we don't have that much time to discuss this one, but very much I'm looking into blockchain as well, and the blockchain enabling companies, not only in payments, in the digital assets, for example, real estate, or also like, you know, just IP rights. This is something that it's now possible with use of blockchain, of course, and with decentralized finance or decentralized technologies. So definitely how you can make it more liquid and how you can make it tradable. So this is an exciting area. But just coming back to MENA, so these are like these three areas that are very much booming and getting interest of investors for sure, but also some traction in the region. And we made and learned some lessons in Europe. So of course, the experience of European experts, but also companies very much valued by players in the Middle East or in a broader context in MENA. So there are a lot of companies in this field. BNPL, there are like, you know, just like Postpay, Tabby, Tamara, Spotii. They are more of the local players. So they are either in local countries, I mean, just one by one. So, but of course they can be also like, you know, just some regional players, but they are not that big as Affirm or Klarna, all these like,
right,
that we know from either US or European markets. Then open banking is also just getting some traction. I mentioned the framework for it. So there are some companies in Bahrain, Spire, or there is Tarabut Gateway. Also in the UAE, there is Dapi, there is Lean in the Saudi Arabia. So there are some companies, not many of them, but this kind of the third-party providers who are just paving the way and just to build the open banking and open finance framework. So I think this is quite similar, but of course this is emerging. And also crypto assets, digital assets, so like crypto exchanges or a lot of different crypto wallets. They are very popular in the Middle East, and I think they are getting just gaining their popularity there. So they're like CoinMENA, for example, Rain. So these are the example of the fintech startups in the Middle East. But of course, what I would say, generally speaking, this is very much based on the lessons learned and on the experience from either Europe or from other parts of the world, like also Asia or US. Right. So I would really like look at the region and just search for more innovation and search for some local specific. What is maybe different is that there is strong push for digital wallets, and they really love digital wallets. And there are either banks who are provider of digital wallets, or telcos, of course, and or payment companies. And I think we rather look in Europe at global players who are providers of, like, you know, just all the Apples and Googles of this world. Also, we have some mobile payments and local wallets or mobile payment systems like Ideal in the Netherlands, like Blik in Poland. In Scandinavia, there are some of them, in Austria, in Italy. Like a different approach. There are like bank-based systems and more like, you know, just cross-country. I think this is a very much of the race of digital wallets in the Middle East. Still, some of them are based on QR codes. Also, very much depends on the geography. Like Egypt, for example, this is not the middle. I mean, this is MENA in the North Africa in a broader perspective. But then, very much depends on the population if they are just underbanked or how much of the financial inclusion is involved. So this is an interesting topic in the Middle East also, just financial inclusion, digital payroll, digital payments for people who are unbanked, and also a kind of an ambition to create super app.
I was going to ask you where are we with the super app race, and who is a wannabe super app, and how is it going over there?
Yeah, an excellent question again, Effie. So thank you for raising this. So absolutely, if you look at digital wallets, most of banks right now with these digital journeys, they have ambition to launch super apps, and I'm pretty skeptic about that, because of course, if you look at the big tech, if you look at PayPal, if you look at even like just of course Amazon, or if you look at even Curve or Revolut, some big companies either in the US or Europe, not even mentioning China, and they giants like WeChat Pay, and of course Alipay. So they are like truly super apps, of course, connecting different services and integrating them around the single user journey. So it's something it's very difficult or even impossible to replicate. Because for me, if you're a super app player, first of all, you have a mass market. So you have millions of users, or 100 millions of merchants as well, like China, for example. So this is about the scale, first of all. Also, how you can connect different services. It's not only about payments or banking, it's about shopping, it's about lifestyle, it's about healthcare right now, entertainment, everything. So definitely, who really has resources to do that? Of course, one of the answers is partnerships. You can build a platform, integrate different partners into it. But still, you have to have a critical mass of customers, and then you have to integrate all the services. And last but not least, you have to create a seamless customer journey throughout the services. So very few players can do that, and not even banks, not even like who are either local or regional players, not even mentioning cross-border payments and cross-border services, because if you use the app, you really want to travel with the app in different geographies. So I really think this is a phenomenon of big tech, and just and I wouldn't, this is the race of super app and the ambition of super app, but I would really say it's not for everybody, really. Platforms are not for everybody, but then, just at the other end, looking from the consumer perspective, super app, you need so much competences, resources, so much investment put into this to really scale it and be successful.
Even if you take the approach of an aggregation approach, because not all super apps are with the aggregation approach, even that in a fragmented market is extremely difficult to succeed, I imagine. Anna, you mentioned something about the innovation in Africa. Again, their fragmentation. I had the pleasure to attend Money 2020 in Amsterdam in September, and I was listening to the CEO of Rapid, and he said at some point that in Africa there's over 2,000 payment rails, a lot of them pretty innovative, but only 3% talk to each other. That statistic has stayed with me. It's just amazing. And I assume that, just as a ballpark, the situation in the MENA region is pretty much the same. So is that your sentiment? Not to put figures on something that we don't have the figures, but what is your sentiment and your understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that happens in MENA. It's very much fragmented as well. So, of course, if you look at the GCC, so the Gulf countries, there are some attempts to create like a coherent space, and of course interoperability. If we talk about digital wallet, for example, so of course one of the challenges is to make it interoperable. So this is exactly what you said, that different payment systems, local system, even local digital wallets, they have to talk to each other, especially that there are some payouts or remittances, international remittances involved. And everybody should remember that in countries such UAE or Saudi or even Bahrain, which is small, just like a lot of population, there are expatriates. So they really need this kind of services. And just coming back to Africa, which is really amazing, we mentioned these 500 plus banks, but also more than 200 different digital wallets, local wallets, and then some card schemes or card networks. So this is exactly the burning point. This is the challenge and the dilemma of interoperability, and how to solve it. And there are some players and there are some powerful unicorns in Africa, just to mention Flutterwave, also Jumia, so Jumia Pay. So just really massive companies. There are also some, like, just, I wouldn't say followers, but wannabe unicorns. So unicorns like Cellulant, like Paga, MS Africa. I did my research recently, so that's why I'm really just up to date. So, but they are really trying to solve this dilemma of interoperability. And to make this seamless, so cross-border payments. Open banking can be a kind of but still it really requires a lot of regulatory or market-led effort and initiatives. But of course, if you look at Africa, there are 50 plus countries there. So it's again very fragmented. It's the biggest continent, but you have like so-called big four, which is like only like, just Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa. And these are countries with big population, but also countries who are homes for these unicorns and are very active in terms of fintech payments. So most of the companies who are leading in payments, digital payments, they are coming from these countries. Also, there are some early stage or emerging companies, so like new players and new fintechs in this field, just trying to come up with this kind of one checkout, so integrated checkout and seamless payment experience, which is very much of a challenge, but also it's a very interesting part of the Africa's fintech landscape.
And I guess it's a side effect of all the unbundling that happened, the past, let's say, 10 years in the fintech space, and now we are in the rebundling phase. But still, the lack of interoperability is a real issue. And I'm smiling because I recently listened to an interview of Jack Dorsey from Block, now not Square, being interviewed by Michael Saylor, and as you can imagine, they were talking about Bitcoin, but not only. And Jack Dorsey said that, for them as a company, they have to go country by country to expand. Recently, they announced that they're launching in Spain, for example. He said, it took us 2 years to, prepare to be able to launch, and we have to do that. But he was like, if we were native Bitcoin users for our payments, we wouldn't have to do that because it's an open infrastructure and so on. So I guess this is another huge topic.
Absolutely.
And of course, Jack Dorsey is clear or loud, if you want, about the mistake that, in his opinion, that Facebook made or Meta made. Instead of creating Libra and DM, they should have adopted Bitcoin, and it would have been much easier. In any case.
Yeah, but absolutely, that's the point. And also, if we talk about interoperability, this is not only just about the traditional payments and traditional payment providers or players, but also including crypto payments. There are so many cryptocurrencies involved. And almost every day a new one is coming. And so also on my list, I just showcase Wadzpay, who is like, just they are active in the Middle East, although they are based in Singapore, and they are trying to solve the issue of interoperability for blockchain. So for just for cryptocurrencies. For
which one is this, Anna? Sorry.
Wadzpay. That's Wadzpay. WADZ. So Wadzpay. So this is a very interesting. So they are like trying to create a single payment gateway for different type of crypto payments, cryptocurrencies, also stable coins, and in the future also for CBDCs. So different type of digital currencies, I would say, and also digital assets. So it's really a kind of, and especially if you want to integrate this type of assets, the new classes of assets or new classes of payments with the traditional, let's say traditional one, and create this one type of experience. And probably last but not least, it's like, just also for NFT, because you can buy NFT with crypto, but then also there are some attempts to change it. And also MasterCard, they partner with Coinbase, I guess, and they are trying to make this possible to buy also the NFT with use of any payment solution, like payment card and so on. So I think this is exactly how this world of the digital payments is changing, and the direction into this kind of interoperable ecosystem.
So basically an open infrastructure that, I guess in this case, I imagine it's based on some type of atomic swaps between the different tokens. I mean, I'm not familiar exactly with the technology, but, I've been thinking that for all the potential of tokenization, what we are really heading towards is a world with much more liquidity than we are ever faced with. And like with AI, I think that we have to ask ourselves, do we want that type of liquidity for everything? Do we want, like in AI, do we want to automate everything? I mean, that's a huge topic, but I think that we have to start thinking about this item, because it will require a very different infrastructure, and it will be a very different world in terms of our values and what we exchange and how we value it also. So on that note, I want to thank you, Anna, for being with us. But before we close, I want to ask you some personal questions. How about that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Thank you. Yeah.
I know first of all, you share with me where people can find you, and I'm going to add it to our video. But tell me, are you reading some interesting books? Are you excited about some trip? What's in your sort of mind right now? And both of them, books and physical travel, for me are traveling in a different way.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I used to travel a lot, and I'm hoping to resuming my travel plans. So I have I will go to Paris and to London. This is something kind of a straightforward and obvious, like, just on my travel list or travel plans related to my professional life. I also wanted to go for a holiday, so hopefully I will still manage to do that. I don't know, in between to Asia. So I have, like, just for this year, it really looks quite promising because the travel is, like, just resuming, and I have some like, just either training or speaking engagements with some clients, some advisory, also in some other parts of the world, in the Middle East as well, and some other. So I really hope for this one. And just in terms of reading, yeah, usually I'm reading, like, just several books at the same time, and I'm just swapping between them. So I'm reading a book, and this is something that really also strikes me, and we don't have time to discuss it, about post-human So, and post-human, this is exactly like, you know, just this is the title of the book, but definitely how we can cooperate even closer, like human and machines, and what are the interactions between the two. So on both sides. And a very, very inspiring question for me, for example, is it more about the humanoid robots or digital people? And I think it brings us to the topic of avatars, of autonomous AI and Metaverse as well. And maybe, I don't know, we will have a chance to discuss it someday as well. So thank you for this question, Effie.
Okay, post-human. You know, post and meta is really, I guess, top of the mind these days. And ironically, we have to thank Mark Zuckerberg both for the explosion of central bank digital currencies and for the trend in the metaverse, because he definitely merits the credit for these trends, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he really just, even, you know, just everybody expected much more from his like immersive presentation, because this is about this immersive kind of experience. So of course he really like promoted, and he kind of like, you know, just gave a buzz for Meta, especially of course with the rebranding as well involved, but Metaverse, because Metaverse was there before and not that much promoted or hype as it is not right now. But I think it happened to all other technologies or some other phenomenon. And of course, if you watch it, it's a kind of a disappointing experience, because first of all, it's very much focused on gaming, which is existing right now, and entertainment. And I would really love to see much more of applications. They will come, and of course we are talking about shopping, and we're talking about even like, you know, just art, and we are talking about education. And education is like a focal point or key point. But definitely I would really like to see more. But yeah, but at least like there is a kind of a, like, you know, just really booming interest into this area. And I'm also looking into Web 3.0 and Metaverse, which is helping out to build this immersive experience, but we are not there.
It is early days, but
absolutely early days, because we tend to confuse it with VR or AR, especially AR, and which is not this kind of a connected immersive experience. And also with the decentralized component involved there. So I'm really looking into this, and I'm also very much excited about that, and also about the companies who are just paving the way in this field. There are some of them, of course. So yeah, let's see.
And again, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and valuable insights.
Thank you very much, Effie. It was a pleasure. So once again, thank you for having me.